अब वो रो रहा है अपने डिसीजन उसको साइंस उसको पता नहीं था क्या करना है बायोलॉजी मेडिकल सॉरी मेडिकल या इंजीनियरिंग इसको अलग नाम मेरा बेटा बनेगा इंजीनियर वो इंग्रेडिएंट्स है वैसे बैठी हूं हमारे टीचर डोनेशन प्रैक्टिस कंपल्सरी तो कॉलेजेस के कुछ भी अभी हम लोग से अच्छी
क्यों खाली खाली क्यों है? कौन सा स्कूल के एग्जाम में क्या है? These people are not here. How many are absent here today? 4, 5. Only 3. This side boys. Only 1 absent. अच्छा चलो. Tell me what are we doing? बोलो. Thank God. Ultimately.
Important.
What is it?
If transpiration. Important.
Very much. अगर transpiration नहीं होगा, if transpiration is not happening, then transpirational pool will not be developed in the xylem tube. Transpiration नहीं हो रहा है, the loss of water हो ही नहीं रहा है. Then the xylem tube is not getting empty. Xylem tube अगर empty नहीं होगा, then the roots will not absorb the water. So since the xylem is the transpiration meaning what? Loss of water from the xylem, no? So the xylem is losing water, तब जाके xylem में empty spaces हो रहा है. Then to fill that empty space, the roots are absorbing water, pushing it upwards. So इस process में transport of minerals भी तो हो रहा है ना? If transpiration is not happening, then the transport of minerals also will not happen in a plant. I'm just repeating it. Okay.
There was a question in NCERT. What will happen if there's a deficiency of hemoglobin?
What will happen if there's a
Deficiency of hemoglobin.
if there's a deficiency of hemoglobin, what will happen?
Oxygen won't.
You tell me what will happen if there's a deficiency of hemoglobin?
Oxygen won't be transported.
How do you obtain hemoglobin from iron?
Hemoglobin is the iron containing pigment. Agar if somebody is having a deficiency of hemoglobin, what will happen? Oxygen binding will not take place. So you have studied, no, that on the surface of the alveolus, the blood vessels pick up oxygen from the alveolus, and carry it to the tissues. Okay? Problem हो रहा है? So now, I think that side is way too problem. ज़्यादा स्वीट नहीं है ना? ठीक है? कि थोड़ा सा और स्वीट?
Yes.
Okay. So if hemoglobin is absent or absent तो नहीं होता, hemoglobin if deficient in an individual's body, that individual will always be weak and lethargic. क्यों? Because hemoglobin absent मतलब और hemoglobin less मतलब oxygen binding at the level of the alveolus and carrying it to the tissues बहुत कम हो रहा है. tissues are getting less oxygen, meaning release of energy is also less. So this person will always be very weak, very lethargic, not very active, always. Understood?
Ma'am, I had read in NCRT like that in stomach, the gastric juice releases pepsin and then hydrochloric acid, and then it said mucus. Okay. So now my doubt was, I always thought like the stomach had a lining itself called mucus, but this sentence kind of means that stomach releases mucus.
It does. The wall of the stomach has got 4 types of cells. So one type of cell is releasing that mucus. So if it is releasing, that means definitely it is forming a component of the entire secretion of the stomach, that is the gastric juice. But wo jo mucus hai, it is forming a lining also on the stomach. And that's the reason if we come across that whenever we vomit also, when we see small children vomiting, what happens? The undigested food that comes out is slippery. Ab wo mucus kahan se aaya? It is from the stomach itself. So is that a component of the gastric juice? Yes, वो तो component लिखना ही पड़ेगा because the stomach wall is producing it. But produce करने के साथ साथ it is also getting stuck to the layer on the inner wall of the stomach. That's why the inner wall of the stomach intestine all slippery.
So okay, so the stomach's lining is not by default protected by mucus.
Protected by mucus from hydrochloric acid, yes. So if an individual's body में, stomach cells में, mucus secreting cells, if it is so less, then the person will always suffer from ulcers, gastric ulcers. The person will suffer from gastric ulcers because that mucus lining is absent or very thin. So hydrochloric acid is eating away or digesting those cells. No. So patches में, the stomach will have, the person will have a burning sensation in the stomach always, digestion problems rahega. A condition known as gastric ulcers.
Or when we suffer from cold, there's a semi-liquid which is excreted by our nose. So is that the mucus?
That is also when we suffer from cold and all.
Yeah.
Yes. At that time, what happens because of the bacterial viral infection, the mucus secretion by the cells of the nasal cavity becomes much more. Mucus secretion थोड़ा तो हमेशा ही रहता है to trap the germs, pathogens. But when we are suffering from a bacterial viral infection, that mucus secretion becomes even more from the glands of the throat also, trachea also. And that doesn't become semi-fluid, that is almost now transparent, watery. Basically, that is because of the chemical substances produced by the bacteria, produced by the virus. So at that time, that is also the mucus.
When we have cold, our nose becomes kind of blocked. Like why does that?
The nasal passages may some. Remember, we are talking about the membranous walls between the heart. No, membranous walls जो chambers को absolutely divide करके रखता है, the septum. So similar type of a septum, but much thinner, is present in our nasal passages also. So because of these infection, these nasal passages become inflamed. Inflame होने के साथ साथ हमें वो feeling आती है कि we are not able to breathe. एक blockade हमें feeling होती है. Under normal conditions, what happens? This septum is comparatively thinner. Inflammation नहीं है, thin है. So easy flow of the air.
And so, ma'am, and then what do the inhalers like? You know,
these are chemical components. Immediately वो inflammation को कम कर देता है.
okay.
Inhalers, when we take, and inflammation not only in the nasal cavity, inhalers, the chemical component, immediately in 5-10 minutes can bring down the inflammation in the entire trachea and also in the lungs. So that can release the inflammation, but for a short period of time. These are not proper antibiotics, but nowadays we get inhalers with antibiotics also. Okay, so we have finished with excretion. The method.
What is
अरे क्या हो गया? Today you also have a doubt. चलो, I'm so happy. बोलो. पढ़ाई किया थोड़ा सा? हाँ? हाँ.
What is dialysis and how does it work?
Dialysis नहीं discuss किया? We discussed.
And
Dialysis is a concept where the person's kidney is not able to purify the blood. Now with reference to kidneys, when I say purification, what are you supposed to understand? Purification of the blood to remove what? The nitrogenous base substances, no? So in the entire concept of dialysis, you are supposed to understand that if a person's kidney not working properly, then the person has to go for artificial filtration of the blood, and this process of artificial filtration of the blood is known as dialysis. So in that process, the person will be allowed to let me see if I have it here. I'll show you the arrangement for. Just give me a minute. Okay, something like this is the unit. Check here. Something like this is the unit. Now here what is happening? This person's kidneys, normally it is not capable of filtering the blood and throwing out the nitrogenous waste substances, majorly the urea and uric acid. So abhi ek artificial unit hai, and this artificial unit is capable of filtering the blood. Artificial filtration of blood. So this artificial filtration of blood that is happening, how? From certain arteries of the body, the blood has to be drawn out, taken out so that it can pass through this set of tubes. So ye jo set of tubes hai, these are all artificial tubes which are made with a specific permeability, jisme only the urea, uric acid molecules should be able to come out. Not a large amount of water, sodium salts, so we had understood, no, for PCT, loop of handicap, permeability alag hota hai. So here the permeability is quite similar like that of the DCT. Yeah, the DCT, the last part of the tubule. So if the blood is passing in this tubules, from the blood, water, sodium, glucose will not come out. What will come out? Urea, uric acid, creatinine, ammonium salts, उस तरह के जो molecular size वाले एक tube इस तरह से frame किया जाता है. These are all artificial membranous structures, and this tube or the entire network of the tube is always kept in a bag-like structure. एक बड़ा सा bag-like structure रहता है. Can you see this yellow colored structure there? So this is actually a solution. The entire set of tubes are actually suspended on this bag-like structure, जिसके अंदर एक fluid होता है. So what is this yellow solution known as? Dialyzing solution, which is normally sodium saline जो होता है, sodium saline या sucrose, dextrose saline जो होता है, जो patients को दिया जाता है ना, through intravenous whenever anybody is sick. So that वही saline solution होता है. So now that the blood is running very slowly, so इस blood में से क्या निकलेगा? Urea, uric acid will be diffusing and getting dissolved in this dialyzing solution. जो yellow colored solution जो है, it will get dissolved in the solution. So from time to time, maybe half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours में, this dialyzing solution has to be changed. क्यों? Why this dialyzing solution has to be changed? Because the concentration of the urea, uric acid should not be more in the dialyzing solution than the blood. Dialyzing solution में अगर ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, then from the dialyzing solution they will revert back to the blood again, no? Diffusion always higher to lower concentration हो जाएगा. So that has to be taken care that they are not. So that is इतना monitoring नहीं होता. So what do they do in the hospitals and clinics? Every 2 hours में they will change the dialyzing solution. क्यों? To maintain the concentration of urea, uric acid lower than the blood, ताकि blood में से वो सब निकल के आए. And then every time it will be drained out and fresh solution inserted. So this will go on for another 6-8 hours, and the blood which runs in all these tubes and comes out is comparatively less toxic. So this is artificial hemodialysis, artificial filtration of the blood, known as hemodialysis. When to be done? When a person's kidney, maybe one kidney not functional, and the other kidney functional either by 30, 40, 50%. If the other kidney is functional, absolute 100% efficiency, 90% efficiency, then also the person may not need dialysis. Understood?
Ma'am, during dengue, like the platelet counts in blood takes a hit. Like, what does the dengue do?
When we are talking about this particular type of infection, that is also because of a viral infection. Now, this will release various different type of proteins. Because of this viral infection, other different type of bacterial infection. Now, what will happen? Certain type of cells. Now, say for certain type of infection, the platelet count becomes very high. For majority of the infection, the WBC count becomes very high. Why? Because in most of the cases, the WBCs are constantly eating up the germs, releasing chemicals to deal with them, or the platelet count is increasing to releasing certain chemical substance to deal with this. So that's the reason we come across that these platelets, apart from the concept of clotting, the platelets also play an important role in releasing certain proteins to deal with the toxic proteins that this microbes start releasing. Inside the body, there are so many different type of chemical reactions that take place. But generally, we talk about the platelets with reference to clotting. But platelets also play a certain role when we talk about this type of microbial infections also. Okay. So the concept of this is over. No? Dialysis we had already discussed. Did we discuss some questions on that part? Did we finish? No. This I have explained all of these. Questions did we do on that part?
One question was left. You told that you will give an answer for that.
Achha, from the volume. What was the question?
Why are the kidney tubules extensively coiled long and narrow?
Let us complete that and check from the volume if I have done some questions. The rest now, let me just go through.
We have to draw the diagram of that from.
We haven't done that.
Yes.
Okay. We'll complete that, and if possible, we'll try to complete one small chapter. Our environment is a very clear portion now.
Yes.
So our environment very elementary. We'll try finishing that. Let us take a diagram of the nephron. Acha, finish that answer first. What is the question? Will you please read out once more?
Why are kidney tubules are extensively coiled long and narrow?
Acha, because the kidney tubules are extensively long and coiled so that the glomerular filtrate can pass through the tubules very slowly, to bring about efficient diffusion of efficient diffusion of essential substances towards the blood a process known as selective reabsorption. Let us start with the diagram of the nephron. Start drawing. start drawing this part first. Now, how will you start your diagram? If this is the page of your notebook, this is a diagram where there will be some more tubes to draw and label here. So this part you draw little bit above the center. Little bit above the center of your page. नीचे enough space should be there. ऊपर ज़्यादा नहीं चाहिए, but few parts enough to label there. And some blood vessels. So you should start from this part. प्रोसेस समझ में आया था? हाँ? तो प्रोसेस समझ में आया था? Reabsorption, tubular secretion, ultrafiltration आया समझ में? When you draw this blood vessels, this black lines that I have drawn, you will always draw them a bit darker. This is a main kidney tubule. Till here, you will be able to draw a little bit the blood vessels, main blood vessels, which is not over the nephron. This part you draw dark, but this blood vessels you draw a little bit light, meaning your diagram, this black part should be dark and this blood vessel should be a bit lighter drawn. Then your diagram looks very good because you cannot use any colors for the diagram. Okay? This is just in the form of a network, you should draw, that's it.
Ma'am, can we write PCT instead of the proximal convoluted diffuse?
This is additional I am giving. This is not there in your book.
Ma'am, why have we placed a renal vein like right at the loop of Henle?
No, the renal vein you can draw anyhow because the renal vein is always formed by the union of these blood capillaries. So you draw this side, you draw that side. Doesn't make any difference.
Oh,
Try to finish in 5 minutes.
ma'am, finished.
We'll go to the. So this is done. Let's go through the questions. How much we are done. Then let's discuss on our impact. Others try to use. Expression in plans were discussed? Yes.
Yes.
You must know to draw to open your paper.
And where does the reabsorption?
What is that?
Where does the reabsorption?
Reabsorption takes place in the CCT first part and the local family. And the secretion, tubular secretion takes place in the BCT, distal tubular.
And ultrafiltration of the Bowman's.
Bowman's capsule glomerulus. Done? So if you are done, go to page 176, question 71. Question 71. Solve in the volume itself. Done? No, all of you done?
Chief nitrogenous waste product in the human urine and the organ which produces which organ
Chief nitrogenous waste product, what is it?
urea and uric acid.
हाँ, an organ that produces क्या है? Organ that produces is, I told you, no? Which organ produces urea, uric acid?
Kidneys.
No. Did we discuss about what are the major excretory organs?
Liver.
Liver. Liver produces. That's a common mistake students do always. They'll write kidneys. No, kidney never produces. I made it very clear when I explained you. If the kidney, the job of the kidney is filtration, throwing out of the waste. Formation of the urea is in the liver. Okay. Just in 2 minutes, I want to complete with 2-3 questions there, and then we move on to this chapter. Done, no? Girls, done with the diagram? As a diagram thing, I'll give you another 5-10 minutes after the class so we can finish. Let us just go through this little bit. If the diagram is here, you can complete after some time also. Let us, okay, page 71, I'm sorry, 176, number 71, question 71. Page 176, question number 71. See there. Look into those set of questions very fast. Done? Okay. The first one, process by which unwanted nitrogenous waste are eliminated. Major excretory organs. Structural functional unit. Structure that brings urine from kidney to bladder. Membranous sac serving as a reservoir. Organic constituents. Chief nitrogenous waste. Organ that produces. Okay. So answer them at home. Complete this as homework. Complete this as homework and answer this at home. Now let us just take 2-3 questions that I want to answer. Take this question. That is 174 question 29. 174 question 29. Fast. Okay, now go there fast. Write that question. How is the amount of urine produced, regulated? 174:29.
The urine produces regulated by excretion thing by
Process of selective reabsorption. अगर selective reabsorption नहीं होता, then every time a huge amount of water salts would have been released, and the body would have suffered. I mean, from various different type of disorders very soon. Probably नहीं होता था कि our lifespan would have been so long.
If we are giving the answer, we have to write.
I'll give you. Question लिखो fast. Finish up. लिखो अभी diagram बाद में complete करो. Complete this question fast. How is the amount of urine produced, regulated? Write the answer. Write the answer. The amount of the urine produced is regulated. Amount of the urine produced is regulated by a process known as amount of the urine produced is regulated by a process known as selective reabsorption. Selective reabsorption. Full stop. Selective reabsorption is the diffusion of essential substances such as diffusion of essential substances such as water, glucose, diffusion of essential substances such as water, glucose, sodium, etc. from the tubules of the kidney towards the blood. This is required because the glomerular filtrate formed after ultrafiltration is extremely dilute consisting of large amount of water, salts, sodium, glucose, and traces of urea. Next sentence. To prevent the loss of large amount of water, selective reabsorption takes place in the PCT and loop of handling. Which maintains the volume and composition of blood, and also maintains the amount of urine released from the body to a maximum of 2.5 to 3 liters. To a maximum of 2.5 to 3 liters. Okay, so that's it. And question number 12, if you see page 173. Question number 12, page 173, take that as homework. Next class you should show me this. So from time to time I will give you, which one I said? Page 173, question 12. This is actually from photosynthesis, not from excretion. This is actually from photosynthesis, not excretion. Huh? So you all must not be having volume 2, no? Volume 2 nahi hai na? Nobody has. Let me just check.
I think that
You have your textbooks? Yes. If you have textbooks, refer the textbook. I'm just asking him to give some extra volume. Refer करने के लिए, you have to give back the volumes. So we start with the concept of our environment. A short chapter. What are you going to study there? The concept of our environment. You can just refer to the topics. What are the topics you need to study? In the volume, we have given everything very nicely for this chapter. And volume से follow, that is more than enough. You have to read the text. Text तो पढ़ना ही है, but for writing answers, points, everything, you can pick from the volume. The concept of our environment. First of all, what are some of the topics here? The first thing that we talk about is our environment. The first thing that we are going to talk about would be, in this particular chapter, what are the different types of waste? So you can just check, you can just refer what are the topics. Topics खाली refer करो. Share the book. Come here, you come here. No, this is fine. You come here. एक से share करो.
we have textbooks.
अच्छा, अगर textbook है तो it's okay. Those who doesn't have the textbook, तुम लोग ले लो. जिनके पास textbook नहीं है, you can refer. Okay, now let us go to that chapter quick. A concept of our environment. Very elementary. But the questions that you get should be able to answer. Let us look into the chapter. The first concept is about ecosystem. Let us just take a note. What are the topics you are supposed to study? What is ecosystem? It is an area. It is an environment. It is a self-sustainable environment we are talking about, where the different type of organisms are constantly interacting with the surrounding factors, meaning environmental factors. Something like, I will talk about the different type of living organisms, the plants and the microbes and the bigger organisms and the smaller organisms, all interacting with the temperature and the soil and the minerals and the water and the sunlight. This is what we are talking about. That is what is known as ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? A sustainable, self-sufficient area where organisms are interacting with each other and they are surviving. But it is not only organisms interacting with each other, but the concept of biotic and abiotic components interacting with each other. So here with this reference I am saying the abiotic components play a very important role in the survival of the biotic components. So biotic components means what? The living organisms. The insects and the worms and the fishes and the plants and the bigger organisms, all these are biotic components. And they are, or their survival and growth and reproduction is very much dependent on temperature and humidity and the minerals in the soil and the different amount of the gases present in the air. So that is what we are talking about, the interaction of environmental factors, non-living factors and living factors. Now, the other thing is to understand the ecosystems. If there is any man or human manipulation required or human manipulation involved, then that ecosystem will always be referred to a man-made or artificial ecosystem. No human manipulation there, natural ecosystem. So that is very simple a concept to understand. So if I talk about a flower garden, what is it? Man-made ecosystem. I talk about the ocean, desert, natural ecosystem. I talk about the aquarium, man-made, agricultural land, man-made. So that's how you know what type of ecosystems and questions on that. Now that I talk about the abiotic components, what are abiotic components and how do they affect our growth, our survival? Yes, are these abiotic factors like the sunlight and the temperature and the humidity and the minerals in the soil, are they having any effect in the growth and metabolism and survival of a living organism, plant and animal? Very much. Now that we talk about the biotic components, which are the biotic components? Biotic components are the living components, such as the plants and the different types of organisms. So check there. Which are the biotic components or biotic components if I am talking about, what are their categories? So biotic components can be of different categories. Number one, certain organisms are known as producers and certain organisms are known as consumers. But now that I am talking about consumers are also of different types. What are those? These are known as the primary consumers, these are known as the secondary consumers, some are known as the tertiary consumers. So now let us try understanding that if it is a concept of biotic component, organisms which are capable of undergoing photosynthesis, chemosynthesis, make food on their own, all will be considered as producers. So will the grasses be considered under the same category?
Yes.
Will the blue-green algae be considered here?
Yes.
Yes. Any tall tree, definitely. I talk about certain different plants which does not have green leaves, plants with the orange, red leaves. Will that be considered here? Yes. So all these different type of plants, blue-green algae in the water, all of them come under this category of producers. Then what is the meaning of producers?
Ma'am, you mentioned that when the plants with red or orange leaves, they come under producers, but do they photosynthesize?
They photosynthesize because they are having the red color only because the number of chloroplast is lesser than the number of chromoplast. Chromoplast है ज़्यादा, chloroplast कम है, but chloroplast है, and this chloroplast is undergoing the process of photosynthesis. Chromoplast is just giving the color, but since chromoplast ज़्यादा है, वो chloroplast दिखता नहीं है. That's the reason the green color is not prominent. Okay, we'll not be able to reach till here, but just ये complete करते हैं little bit. Producers, I said, producers are what? The type of organisms which are undergoing photosynthesis, producing the food. Consumers, how can we categorize primary, secondary, tertiary? If I talk about a consumer which is directly dependent on the producer, वो हो जाएगा primary consumer. So an organism which is directly dependent on the plant, उसको क्या बोलेंगे? Herbivore. A smaller organism which is dependent on the herbivore, secondary consumer. Okay, and then a bigger organism which is dependent on the secondary consumer हो जाएगा tertiary consumer. So to understand this concept, we'll have to go to the concept of food chains. What are food chains? So in the concept of a food chain, we understand how to place all these organisms in different levels and categories. Okay, we'll have to take this next class. Next class, remember to carry volume 2, all of you, and give this book. Give the volume. Give. One more. I think only one more. Remember to carry volume 2 next class.
आपका उधर लेक्चर है मैं क्या करता क्लास अगला
ठीक है
कौन आपके पास कौन है कौन दे रहे थे आपका तो ये लाइन में रखो तो नहीं करना